Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Geoeconomics Podcast. I'm your host, Kovid Bhaduri, taking charge of this podcast for the first time ever. And with me today is our guest, Raj Kapoor. Raj is the founder and CEO of the India Blockchain Alliance, which started as an evangelism firm promoting the use of blockchain technologies in various projects in India, but has now become more of a consultation firm providing blockchain services to various clients both within India and abroad. In our conversation today, we take a look at some of these services and specifically break down the governance angle and the response of the Indian government of the blockchain technologies and their roadmap for its promotion in the future. We take a look at some of the interesting trends in the corporate sector and the startup space, and we take a look at the blockchain education space in India. I think the conversation today will be particularly interesting for anyone who is interested in the development of the blockchain space as a whole, and specifically in the development of the blockchain space within the Indian context. That being said, here's the podcast with Raj Kapoor. Welcome, Raj, to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm always good, Kovid. Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure. So, how's your weekend been? We're recording this on a Saturday. How's your weekend been today so far?
Weekend's really busy. This is my 6th meeting of the day, so I guess I'll peg it in as busy.
I see. Do your weekends typically look like this, or do you have like more?
More. Weekends are even busier than the weekdays. There's a reason for it. I take a lot of programs for corporate executives, CXO level, and advisors, so that you try and make them understand the value of blockchain. That takes me. That's every weekend. They're free on weekend, so they keep me busy on the weekend.
I see. You're busy on the weekend because everybody else is free on the weekend.
Exactly, and I'm not complaining. It pays well, no complaints.
Right. So to begin with, Raj, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and the work that you do?
About myself, well, I love blockchain. That's one of the reasons why I'm in this space. Quite like many others who are there because of crypto, I love the technology behind the underpinning technology. I love much more than the crypto itself. I see the benefits of both, but I extol more the virtues of blockchain all the time. Crypto is more for the speculative, as of now in India especially. So I always tell them it's not interchangeable. But anyways, coming back, I started my journey a little bit, about 11 years back when actually somebody paid me in crypto and told me that this is going to change your fortunes. I said, well, great. If you're going to change my fortunes, I'll accept it. Although I was pretty, cheesed off, saying that I was not getting my dollars, I'm getting some coin. So having said that, again, I started doing a lot of work in trying to figure out what is this crypto. And that actually set the whole ball rolling because I started understanding the technology behind it, right from reading the white paper to understanding what people are doing, to see how things work, to see how the mechanisms work. I got very intrigued by all that. And then there was no looking back. So I always tell guys, I went in for the speculation, but I stayed back for the revolution. The speculation being the crypto, and the revolution being the underpinning technology, blockchain. Started my IBA into India Blockchain Alliance in 2018 with the idea of spreading the knowledge of blockchain in a nation which is really tech savvy, but not blockchain savvy. And 3 years down the line, I haven't regretted a single minute of my decision. So that's what I do. I teach blockchain. I sleep, work blockchain. I work with corporates, with universities, with governments, but all in the blockchain space.
I love the line. I went for the speculation, stayed for the revolution.
Yes.
It's a great line. So let's talk a little bit more about your work with IBA.
Yes.
What exactly does IBA does?
Well, IBA, as I said, it started as an evangelism body. It's an industry body. It is a not-for-profit. And one of the key things what we do is we have 4 different silos in which we work with. The first silo, and I always believe is the most important silo, some may not agree with me, but I believe that, is the education. I do a lot of work in the education space where I educate our youngsters, young adults, anybody who's interested, basically, even adults. As I told you, I'm doing a lot of work with CXOs. So I train in and make them understand the difference between crypto and blockchain, make them understand what are the latest trends, so on and so forth. I work with a lot of universities. I have written a couple of courses. I mean, not a couple of, maybe about 17, 18 courses now in crypto, blockchain, DeFi, NFT, fintech. And we roll them out in these universities and colleges, share with them our experience. Not only the courses, we even bring them live projects. We work with them on internships, do a whole bunch of work so that the kids get a real hands-on learning. That's what we do in the education space. So that's my first pillar. So the second pillar is the corporate pillar, I would call them. The corporate pillar is where we advise Indian corporates, companies who actually want to get into the blockchain space, but don't know when, what, where, how of blockchain. They may have some idea, but they don't really know whether the implementation is good. So basically, the advisory space is where I actually step in and tell them whether they need it or they don't need it, what could be the possible ROI, and so on and so forth, the whole 9 yards in that space. Then we follow that up with we help if they really want to go forward, we help them build the proof of concepts and then get into the project stage. Under the same sector, I would say we also have I do a lot of work with startups, young startups, which I advise them. I'm on the board of maybe about 15, 18 of them. I don't even know how many right now, so many of them. And whichever one really excite me, I work with them, help them develop the product, help them integrate the blockchain properly, help them with everything they need to get their product to be a real great, robust product, which is ready for not just the Indian market, but for an international market and for everyone. So we work right from the beginning till they get their funding, so on and so forth. I help them get their funding also, seed or otherwise. So we do a lot of work in that space. So we have in the corporate, I would call that my subset. Another subset is I work with a lot of my international partners on navigating the India markets, because the India market is a different kettle of fish. They don't know how to navigate it. So I help them in that space. Third, I work with the governments. We work with a lot of governments, including the government of India and the different state governments on implementing certain projects, advisory, training, everything, the whole 9 yards again in the government space. And that's what makes it a wonderful experience, because now we have, when you write from the students to the governments, we have the entire link, you can say the entire blockchain ready, because these are the guys who want to sit down and do projects either for the corporate or for the government. So that's my third silo, that's the government. And the fourth silo, I have for a non-profit arm in which we educate and train technology education. We impart technology education free of charge to the girl child. We've taken up the cause of a girl child, and we train, teach them, educate them right from kindergarten, whatever level they come from, kindergarten to college. And the health impart training is now especially blockchain, artificial intelligence, etc., so that they can become employable and not depend on their husbands for the future or their parents for the future. They have their own. We teach them how to fish, basically. So and now, as of last count, for the last 10 years, we've been doing it. Whatever we earn, about my wife and I, 75% of that goes towards that. We don't take fund from outside. It's a self-financed initiative. And we have got about 1,737 girls in that right now. So in a nutshell, education, corporate, government, and a little bit of good. These are the four things we do. That's what IBA does.
This is very interesting. There's so much to unpack here in each of the elements that you mentioned, and I'm sure we'll be having some discussions into each of the particular elements. But let us start with the last part. You mentioned that you work with teaching blockchain technology to the girl child. What is like the demographic response, specifically the female Indian population?
Yeah.
How much do you see blockchain or crypto or blockchain enabled technologies penetrating to these sections of the society?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I find the girls are very attracted to technology, which includes blockchain. That is one. I find that, especially down south, I have seen real wonderful work. They're doing some real wonderful work in this space. We also have a division which places them. So I out of the 1,700 girls, not all of them are in college, maybe about 200, 300 that are there. They've all got job offers over the last 2 years. So that's been a great thing. I've also seen the impact. We've chosen the girl child for a very simple reason also. You should know that also. There are many causes. This is one of the causes. We can't take on all causes, but this is one of the causes which we've picked out. So we enjoy that simply because we believe that they have a lot of potential. and that potential can be translated into reality if somebody just channelizes them. There are not too many people who work towards making them or empowering them, I would say, rather than sort of making them. So our attempt is to empower these people, and I think we're doing a fairly good job.
I see. You're helping them make themselves Lakshmi by building them into Saraswatis.
Absolutely, you're right. Yep, totally.
Right. I
Yes.
see.
Yep.
So let's get back a layer further.
Mhm.
In general, what is the response of the entire Indian demographic to blockchain? Like, how much have you seen blockchain technology accepted or rejected by the Indian population, and as well as the government? Because
Yeah.
we're seeing these reports of cryptocurrency being regulated and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
let's start with the population first. How much do you think blockchain technology is being accepted or rejected by the Indian population?
Okay. I think now in the last 6 months, I have seen an uptick in the number of corporates which call on to me and say, "Hey, Raj, can we discuss this?" I mean, I was always doing it, but I've seen a real, let's put it this way, is almost a 70-80% from the last 6 months. I wouldn't say quarter to quarter. I would say 6 months to 6 months. I've seen an uptick. I've seen conservative organizations completely say, "Can we go for an ICO?" without even probably knowing what it means, but they're actually
Right.
asking these questions. Now, when they ask a question of an ICO, means they understand at least the basic fundamentals, and that has come from somewhere. That somewhere is maybe it's a trend, maybe they have seen the value of it for somebody else, maybe it's somebody internally that they've had a discussion. And I'm doing this for several organizations now. But that makes a lot, I've seen the uptick, yes. So corporates are embracing blockchain. There is hesitancy because A, lack of awareness. B, nascent technology. C, even the CTOs and the CIOs are not very sure where it goes. How do the legacy systems get impacted? What's going to happen if there's it didn't work? Actually, everybody always, in India, especially the little conservative, not very adventurous. Sometimes they want to hold back and say, all right, we're going on fine. It's quite okay. But there is a paradigm shift, and that shift is quite tectonic. So it's not really a minor shift, it's a major shift. I can say that from my experience. And also, I see it from the experience of the government also. The government, there are two parts of it. I will break this up in two parts. One is the crypto stance, and one is the blockchain stance. There are two stances. If you see the government of India in 2020, it came out of the paper on a white paper, a strategy on blockchain by the Niti Aayog, which is the think tank for the government of India. That was followed up immediately in about a month by another document called Blockchain for Governments. And they set up a center of excellence and a sandbox to do a lot of POCs for different industries in that. And that was an official document from the NIC, that's the National Information Corporation. That's the Government of India enterprise. Then came the real kicker. The kicker came in Jan of this year when the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology took out a paper, the National Blockchain Strategy. Now, I'm talking blockchain first. This is part one. That set the ball rolling, and there are now, as of now, I believe there are more than 70 to 80 different projects in 14 states in India at different levels. Some are in proof of concept, some are in pilot, some are now being rolled out completely after the POC has been successful. I myself am speaking to several governments on multiple POCs at this point of time. So there has been an uptick there as well. Now, crypto. Crypto is not blockchain, and blockchain is not crypto. They are not interchangeable. They are interlinked, but not interchangeable. Now, the crypto policy, obviously, for a government, it is a struggle anyways, because there are so many elements which they cannot tackle. They have never hitherto experienced anything in this space. And it's got thrust upon them very suddenly. Of course, when I say suddenly, the last 2 years have seen a major upward swing in this, where we've got a lot of Indians now, more than 10 crore Indians have an account at some sort of a trading platform, crypto trading platform, which is amongst the highest in the world, if not the highest. And tier two is gone big into the bandwagon. Now, crypto as a trading tool is making money. People don't understand it from a blockchain perspective. They look at it from a perspective of speculation, making quick money, whatever. The greed factor always kicks in very fast. However, the government has other issues which they need to really address before they actually decide on the policy. They have been sleeping on the policy for quite some time, but now they are pretty active. There is a reason again, 6.6 billion assets locked into crypto, and that was about 6 months back. The numbers have come. Now the number must be definitely even more than that because there's been almost a 2,000% increase in the number of Bitcoin wallets in the last 3 to 6 months. In most of the exchanges. Most of the exchanges also become unicorns. That just shows that everybody's enjoying the crypto band, the ride. So the
Right.
government needs to really look into it and say, well, how do we put this? How do you put a framework around this? How do you put the SOPs, the SLAs? How do we put this? How do we classify it? Do we classify it as a commodity? Do we classify it as a for profit? Where the hell are we? Right now, it's perched on the commodity stage. That's one. Second thing is anti-money laundering is also a concern, and they need to build this as a policy before they need to build it into the policy, and they will have to do that. They don't have real good people to do that right now because again, the bureaucrats don't have any knowledge about what is this. Suddenly trust upon them as well. I don't blame them. It's just the way it is. And finally, anti-terrorist funding. These are critical concerns. There are also concerns whether money laundering is one of the biggest concerns. I know that for sure, but they have to be addressed, and they will be addressed over a period of time. How will they do it? We will see. Now they have decided to take out the policy in Feb, and we've also given our suggestions what needs to be given from our side, and let's see how it goes from here. But it is there. It was sitting on the fence on the crypto policy for many years. Now they're not going to be sitting on the fence. They have to take a call. So it's time.
I see. I hope the call is positive.
Oh, it will be positive. I'm telling you that.
Right. It's good to hear. So, well, I think it seems from what you're telling me that government of India is a little more cautious on crypto than say some other applications of blockchain, especially considering that Niti Aayog and MEIT have already launched these papers, especially with the part that there's already a framework
Yes.
for blockchain applications. So since you are working with the government in so many of these state level projects, what are some of the interesting blockchain applications that you've seen emerging in these state level projects? What is the government of India working on right now?
There are three things which they have put their focus on. One is land titling. One is implementing blockchain in the agriculture sector, supply chain especially. And the third is e-governance, like property taxes and the birth certificates, death certificates on the blockchain. And now it's even in the education space, credentialing on the blockchain. So that because there is a huge problem in India for fake degrees. There's a huge problem of land ownership. There's a huge problem in the supply chain. And these are the key critical areas where they're looking at. Of course, they're looking at the financial sector as well. They're bill discounting, LCs, letters of credits, lots of things happening. But these 4 or 5 sectors remain the core focus as of right now. Right now, they're even talking about putting up the renewable energy and the carbon credits, etc., on the blockchain. But that's in the very preliminary stage. The mass adoption has been in land titling, land records, in the e-governance in terms of getting all the documents, basics, not everything in e-governance, a part of e-governance, and supply chain, especially for produce, is going to go on the blockchain. Of course, the banking sector, the private sector is going big on blockchain. They have huge projects.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. Cross-border trading, everything else, bill discounting, everything is going to go on the blockchain. Loans, everything will go on blockchain. It's a matter of time.
Right. In terms of current progress, which places in India do you think have made the most progress in terms of implementing these blockchain applications?
I think Tamil Nadu would lead in front of the states because Tamil Nadu is the only state in India which has got its own blockchain policy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Tamil Nadu is the leader, followed very closely, I would say, by Telangana, Karnataka, Andhra.
I see.
The numbers keep changing up and down, but I think these are the 3-4 states which are really doing a lot of projects in the blockchain space. And other Tamil Nadu has got its own policy. No other state has got its own policy.
Yeah. I think I see a trend where the southern states usually are quick to jump on in technological progress. They're quick to adapt, and
because they are quicker to understand the
Right.
benefits of and the more educated approach towards governance.
Right, exactly. What is the policy framework for the next 5 to 10 years? You mentioned the MEIT document. What does the government hope to achieve in the next 5 to 10 years through blockchain?
Well, they definitely want. I mean, one of the things is the crypto aspect they want to cover because it still
Right.
comes under blockchain. No matter which way you look at it, it still
Yeah.
will come under that. So they want to cover that. They want to cover the basis. And as I told you, two major concerns: anti-money laundering and terrorist funding is what they're looking at. One. By the
Right.
way, the RBI has also got a sandbox for doing a lot of work in this space, in the blockchain fintech space.
Hmm.
Only they don't allow any new, experiments on crypto out there. That has been kept out of their sandbox. By the way, this is just
Hmm.
now. That means crypto is not on the priority list at all.
Hmm.
What is on the e-governance is there. Even the financial sector is going to be is taking a lot of prominence. They're even, a couple of states are even examining the e-vote, the voting, blockchain based
Right.
voting. So that's an
Oh,
interesting area as well.
yeah. That
That,
is.
yes, that's very interesting. Whether it sees the light of day or not, we don't know, but
Hmm.
it will definitely. It's a good thing that Telangana government is doing it. That's for sure.
Hmm.
And a couple of other governments are also trying how to make it work. They probably, after all these elections get over, they'll then start doing a little more work on it. They'll definitely not bring in immediately. So I think that will be one. E-governance will become stronger. Agriculture will have a lot of blockchain interventions along with other technologies, not just blockchain. So it'll be because blockchain again doesn't work in isolation. It works with IoT. It'll work with IoT. It'll work with your artificial intelligence.
Hmm.
It'll work with cloud. So it's basically a convergence of technologies with the bedrock of blockchain. That's going to be the main thing. How the technologies are going to work with other technologies. What are the areas? The areas of focus are pretty clear in the. If you see the roadmap, they're pretty clear. These are the which I've told you. These are the areas of
Hmm.
they want to have it, and education is going to be a very critical part here as well because awareness is absolutely missing. How
Hmm.
do our youngsters in schools and colleges come out and see a world where suddenly, apart from the rupee and the dollar and the pound, you saw got a Bitcoin, you got an Etherite, you got 10 other thousands of other currencies? What the hell do you do with them?
Hmm.
What are they? Are they going to threaten us? Are they going to embrace us? Are they going to merge? Are they going to be inclusive, exclusive? What the hell's going to happen? Nobody knows. Therefore, education is going to be a key factor and a key area, and awareness building will be a key area as well going forward in the next couple of years, not the 5 years, but the next 5 years will take on a lot more new use cases. There have been some good use cases now. As they reach maturity, there will be more and more inclusive use cases, NGOs, crowdfunding, all that is being considered to be putting on, and even the verification of other credentials like doctors, nurses. Oh, the
Hmm.
credentialing is going to become big, and of course, that leads to the digital identity. At the end of the
Right.
day, they're looking at that.
Right. Yeah. Um, that does sound hopeful, but I think what we do need to focus on is the education part that you mentioned. It's
It's the Genesis block. It is the Genesis block. The first
right.
block which you put is the most important block. It's the
Yeah.
Genesis block.
Yeah.
So I always believe in that, and I've always awareness comes only through education. It won't come otherwise.
Right.
Otherwise, it's propaganda.
Yes. Let's focus because you have been also working with education through the IBA.
Yes.
How exactly does IBA help college students? Is it like a course you designed for
Yeah.
the college itself? Is it a separate boot camp? How does it work?
Well, there are multiple models. First
Right.
of all, we've designed several courses. That's one part, along with some of our international partners. We, of course, our international partners have always been very helpful for us because they provide the basic, but then we need to make it a little more Indian. As I say, in India is the only place where we have an aloo tikki burger because it's palatable. You can't eat a beef burger in India; you'll never sell.
Right.
Yes, the aloo tikki burger, the ubiquitous burger, is now Indian. Now we Indianize it. We make it right for our universities because the universities we know what they're looking for. Everybody wants degree, certificate, all that stuff. So I believe that there should be a structured format. You cannot have ad hoc courses, short-term courses, which are basically we have built short-term. So we've got courses which are maybe 8, 10, 12 hours just to have an awareness. and then we build up from there to 150 hours, 200 hours, 1 year, 2 year programs, so on and so forth. Now, it all depends on the university how they actually approach us. They want just to give them some awareness. Yeah, we have awareness camps, we have webinars, we have seminars, we do that. But a lot of them, what we've done now is we tell them this is not the way they're going to learn. So what we have done, and that model has really worked very well, we set up what is known as a center of excellence in blockchain and emerging technologies. Now, here's what we do. We bring in courses, short term, mid term, long term, so the students have an option. A. B, we have a lot of partners. We ask them to bring their projects to the university center of excellence, where these kids can work actually hands on real projects. So what they've learned translates into tangible effort, and they can see the results for themselves. The real life projects on different platforms. We are platform agnostic. So we bring them inside, make them work. You learned about Ethereum. How will you know unless you really worked on the platform? How will you know how to make a smart contract? I can tell you reams and reams of information on a smart contract, but when you actually get out to make it, it's a different ball game. And we help them, in turn, with blockchain organizations, companies, so they get a real live feeling. What is this blockchain? Where are people going? What are the trends? They have their mentor, and we have mentors. We have a beautiful mentor pool of international and some Indian, very good mentors who actually mentor these kids and help them. Now, if some of them want to have startups, we help them from an entrepreneurship perspective and guide them towards what are requirements for the startup. If there are those who want careers, we guide them from a career perspective. Backward integration we work with a lot of corporates, so we know what they need, and accordingly we train them so that these guys become employable. So it's the whole 9 yards in a center of excellence, not just a single course or a single webinar or an awareness series. It goes on throughout 365 days a year. They can use it in a virtual format, or they can use it physically where they have, and they're in college. So they learn holistically. It's a 360 degrees learning, hands-on learning, project-based learning. That, I think, has been the cornerstone of success, because we've had some very, very good startups as well as very good blockchain developers come out, and not just developers, project managers, marketing guys, ICO guys, fantastic. So we have all these programs, we train them accordingly. We've taken out 16 different professions within the blockchain space, and we train them accordingly. We give them the choice. Then that's the way forward. That's the destiny forward.
It's great to hear. You're mentioning that you cover both career-oriented sort of training and awareness training. I was curious to know how much percentage-wise, how much would you say percentage of your students come for awareness versus how much actually want to make blockchain a career and go on to be blockchain developers and stuff like that?
In 2020, the ratio was 70 to 80% awareness, and the rest were more serious students.
Right.
It's flipped completely now.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you have like 70 to 80% students coming to you with the mindset that, they'll go on to become...
For careers. In fact, a couple of universities have approached us. I'm in the board of studies of a couple of universities. For one of them, I'm helping them make a 4-year Bachelor's of Engineering program in blockchain. Then, just recently, for one of the top universities in Pune, Symbiosis, they have a BBA FinTech program. I have seen the paradigm shift now. In fact, in 2 months' time, they only had 2 months to market the program. They got 30 students, and that's a great start, I would say, for a very new program. Next year, they'll of course get definitely many more, because they have 6 months now to market. But the bottom line is that really worked. Apart from that, I have got about 1,400 students doing the initial programs at different levels, and that's a lot of students immediately coming in a space where last year we didn't even have 100. So that's been a big change, and that's a good change.
Yeah, it definitely is.
If the government takes out a policy, who the hell is going to manage these projects?
Right.
Who's going to develop them? Are we going to give it? So So let's get our priorities straightened up first. That's the first thing.
Right. Within your own network, has there been a trend, because you're so much connected with other companies and the startup space itself? Has it been a positive trend of it's just a great network for the students to train and then go and also get employed at the same network? And then
absolutely, that's the idea. As a blockchain alliance, What is the idea? The idea is to get partners to have different points of view, to have different blockchains to work on, to have different products to work on, to have different opportunities. And also for our partners, because there, a lot of them are international, they get some
Hmm.
very good talent, much cheaper than what they would get in their own country. And at the end of the day, they can actually check them out. How do they work? What's going on? I mean, do they understand? And they get
Right.
a great opportunity to place.
Yeah. Plus practical training, right? Because these guys are being developed with the exact mindset of being working at these blockchain companies. So
Totally. And what happens also, so since we've got partners from UK, Australia, Canada, Europe, Israel, Africa, they get a holistic understanding of what's happening
right.
around the world, not just in one place. I've got a lot of
Hmm.
students from Africa for that matter interning in India, and I've got a whole
Right.
lot of Indians interning in Israeli companies, in US companies, and so it's a beautiful mix. The community starts growing. You need to have community growth for better blockchain adoption, and that's what one of the attempt of IBA is to see that we have a larger community. That's where is we're going to see success.
Absolutely. So let's focus on the last part of this community as we're talking about the startups, right?
Yeah.
What does your work with the startups typically look like?
All right. Every startup thinks that they've got the best product ever to come out since sliced bread. Unfortunately, it's not the case.
Right.
We have great guys with great ideas, but one of the things which they miss the point completely is it's a great idea today, but is it going to be a great idea 6 months down the line? So what we do is we work with startups to understand, are they actually solving any problem? So as I now, one of my colleagues in the United States, we both jokingly call it a PKVC formula. Is it a painkiller? That's the PK part of it. Is it a vitamin or a vitamin? That's a V. Or is it a cure?
Hmm.
We try and help out the students understand what is your youngsters and students. I'm saying incubation cells in universities as well as
Mhm.
young startups and accelerators. We help them understand where this product can go, how the product needs to be modeled, what should be the architecture, how do you bring down your costs, because blockchain can be an expensive thing if it's on the wrong platform. Is it interoperable? How are you going to make this? How are you going to make inroads? What's your audience? Will they need it now? Will they need it 3 months down the line, 6 months down? So we give them the entire mentoring, product shaping, and go to market strategies. And more important, go to venture capital strategies so that they can get their seed and venture capital. So it's the
Hmm.
whole walk. We walk with them right throughout. And most of them, of course, are not in the capacity to pay us. So they give us some sweat equity. So we also are involved deeply to see that they get valuation. And the valuation can only come if the product or service or platform they have is credible and has a value impact. So we do a lot of diligence on the value impact and then align with the startups.
Very interesting, especially the part where you say that a lot of these startups you're basically taking equity as payment, which means that your network just keeps on
Yeah,
exponentially increasing, right?
absolutely. It
Right.
never finishes. And then they become funded and then they can take on interns, they can work on
Right.
projects. So the whole ecosystem is
Exactly.
what we are building. We need it. We don't have it.
Exactly. It's very interesting. So, what are some of the most interesting startups that you have worked with, which you'd maybe like to shed light here? Some really interesting concepts, good teams. What are some of the interesting startups that you work with?
I'm working with a startup called Floyx, which is the first social media on the blockchain. You can have a
Hmm.
look at these sometimes. I can probably share links later on.
Right.
It will
If
be,
you do, we'll be happy to have them on the description of the podcast. So
I will definitely send you a whole bunch of them. There are 5, 6 which I'm very excited about.
awesome.
There is Mint, there is Tasset, there is the one called Carbon Black. Excellent ones solving actual real world problems. They're not just there because it sounds jazzy and great to be on the blockchain. I got
Hmm.
a blockchain product. No, they are actually solving real world problems. Blockchain is actually meant to solve real world problems, not just problems. And that's why it's called an institutional technology. It's not called an information technology only. It
Hmm.
has the power to create solutions for the real world. Other technologies can be great for improving workflows, efficiencies, systems, integrations, but blockchain is the umbrella which actually
Hmm.
can not only create a social economic impact, but also has the power to tokenize the efforts. That's
Right.
that's the big difference. Yes. So I will send you some links which I find really very interesting. There's another one called Procial. There's another one. Oh, there are so many of them. I'll send you all 15, 18 of them. You can pick it.
Sure, sure. But why don't you tell us a little bit about these companies, like some of the more interesting ones?
Yeah, for example, there is one company which is addressing a very critical problem faced by, say, MSMEs. Now,
Mm.
MSMEs are always, at the receiving end, although they are the backbone of our nation. What is the problem? They get orders, they will supply. There is a 30 days, 60 day, 90 days limit. Okay. Now, one of the startups is using their existing assets and having fractionalized tokenization of it to fund other MSMEs with, or discount their bills, etc. So using an existing asset base to do that, that's very interesting. There's another one using it for basically discounting. So immediately, if I got a 60-day payment network, I will within the community they have these coins. They will stake their coins, and with these coins they immediately get paid, and the whole thing becomes tokenized. And there was somebody's doing it in the healthcare section with completely with electronic health records, again tokenizing everything in such a way that the benefits of putting it on the blockchain. So yeah, these guys can put it up and get tokens for it. Tokens start getting value. They can swap them for consultations, medicines, etc., etc. So all of them are very, very interesting. There are plenty of others, but these come to mind right away. They're solving real problems, especially the trade finance, especially the MSMEs. They are struggling.
Right, right. This is all very interesting. I'm really interested. It's really interesting to hear for the types of solutions that these guys have for the problems that they're facing.
Yeah. The problem
These,
sometimes they face is only one, that they don't have a deep dive in. They have an understanding that there is a problem, but the deep dive understanding comes only from experience, and that's where we try and help them out. We've been inside, we've been doing work business for many years, so we try and share our experiences and tell them why. How about this? How about the compliance? And of course, most of them have a big issue. They don't understand the compliance aspect at all.
yeah, yeah. These companies that you mentioned, the really interesting ones, are these like Indian companies or are these companies in the international network?
I've given you the Indian ones right now.
Right, right. Okay, very cool. So, all right, I'll ask you, I think, a couple more questions.
Sure.
Number one, it's a little vague, but I guess just an all-encompassing question.
Yeah.
The future for blockchain in India, how positive?
I'm bullish.
Right.
One. And I'll tell you what, with the coming of our dApps and the DAOs, every aspect of our lives is going to be touched by blockchain at some point or the other. There is going to be an inflection point and there's going to be a confluence point. Now, I say that why? Today, I'll tell you what, we all know we use the Uber. I know somebody, I know a lot of guys trying to make the next Uber, of course, a lot of them, and 90% of them won't see the light of day. But what they're doing is something different. But maybe from there they'll learn. What they're doing right now, simple thing like an Uber. You book the Uber, Uber gets the booking, it transmits it to the different drivers, the drivers accept it, and bingo, your car is with you in a few minutes. A lot of people are trying to disrupt this by removing the middleman altogether and building in smart contracts and saying, listen, guys, when you book an Uber, let it go directly to the driver. Uber through its smart contracts can automatically get paid their commissions anyway. So why do these guys have to wait for their money after 2 or 3 days or a week sometimes? So trying to fall aside with the problem. So basically, a lot of distributed apps are going to come in. A lot of distributed autonomous organizations will come in also. All these will impact us at some point. Now, you and I, when we go about our daily lives, we may not realize what's happening, but there is the blockchain working behind us, is we are working behind the scenes, whether it is in the supply chain, whether it is our e-governance documents, which are going on. The next time you go to in West Bengal, for example, they've already put the birth and death certificates on the blockchain in Durgapur. Starting in Durgapur, the first project was done in Durgapur. In fact,
Interesting.
West Bengal was the first state to do it.
Hmm.
So the next time you go to different states, your birth certificate will be on the blockchain. The next time somebody passes out from Pune University who's implemented a blockchain platform for issuing credentials on the blockchain, your certificates will be on the blockchain. Now, for a normal person, they don't know it's blockchain or what. They don't care also, for that matter.
Right.
But it's like we say, it's Intel inside. You have the Lenovo's, the IBMs, and the
Right.
Samsungs, but inside is still Intel.
Right.
That's what blockchain is going to be. Blockchain is going to be our next Intel inside, and it's big.
Awesome. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
And another question for you. If somebody wants to read up on blockchain, learn about blockchain, what are some of the resources that you recommend? Books, videos? What are some things that you recommend for someone out
Well,
there?
yeah, first of all, they can follow the India Blockchain Alliance page. There's a
Right.
lot of information we post out there completely free of charge. Sometimes there are short courses and videos also. We put it up there. Absolutely happy for anybody to consume whenever they want to get a basic awareness. I mean, they can reach out to any of our guys. We are very happy to always share information. That's one. LinkedIn Learning is a good basic resource for understanding the courses. IBA has its own. We're coming out with our own portal with a lot of courses in this space, especially in fintech. There are a couple of free ones, and if you like them more, you can actually subscribe to the more advanced and the more deep dive ones. That's one. Also, read up a lot. Read up a lot because blockchain is changing every day. It's not what 3 months back I knew about the Bitcoin. Today it's changed. There's a taproot now. There's a new fork coming up. Lots of things happening. Read a lot, and the reading can come from good websites like you have Blockchain News, Coin News Extra. Good portals where they get a lot of updates in that. You can get all those things out there. Being Crypto is a good site. You can have a look at all of those, and of course CoinGape is one. You can have a look at that. Those are good information sites. But more important, if blockchain is your passion or your blockchain is where you're leaning, be abreast with everything, especially if you're a developer, because that's
Mhm.
changing really fast. That space is changing really fast. So follow us on LinkedIn. Yes, we have an I India Blockchain Alliance page. Follow that. You get a lot of information on that. Every day there is new news and new upgrades posted on that. So you get a fair idea what's happening in the world. Then you decide if that's your passion. You decide if you want to date and then marry, your call.
Very interesting. So, what are some of the best places to contact you, Raj? You or and as well as the India Blockchain Alliance, where do you recommend people following you, getting connected with you?
Well, I'm a firm. I'm on LinkedIn personally.
Mhm.
I'm a very active on LinkedIn, and I have plenty of followers. That's one. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can also go to my page and connect to me from there. That also takes me to the LinkedIn page. That's my platform of preference. We are also present in Facebook. We are there, but very limited presence because Facebook is really not a great place for blockchain, I would say. But we are still
Mhm.
there, and of course, my page. That's where I'm going to be, and of course, you can always go onto my website www.indiablockchainalliance.org. So that's another place where you get a lot of inputs, and of course, the rest you can ask Kovid Bhaduri also.
But thanks, Raj. This has been a really awesome conversation. I really appreciate your time today. And for the rest of our viewers, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe us on YouTube, and we are on Twitter, so make sure you follow us there. And I'll see you next time with another episode of the Geoeconomics Podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.